Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I am continuing with Kendra's card challenge featuring the Spellbinders Floral Friendships collection. This first card is sketch number 4 out of the 15 card sketches that you can make if you play along with this sketch challenge. And I am using the Floral Friendships collection, which is a little bit reminiscent of the card making kits, except that it's completely a la carte. So all of the items are sold individually, so you don't actually have to buy, a full bundle or kit. You can just buy the individual items that you are most interested in. So I've got the 6x6 paper pad, which does include 40 sheets. There are 10 unique designs, so you actually get 4 sheets in each of the 10 designs, which is kind of nice. And they are single-sided. It is more of a paperweight, but some of the designs do have this really nice foiled, gold foiled design. So that's always really nice. The collection also comes with chipboard frames, which is what I'm using here. And it's a nice variety because some of the frames are rectangular, like what I'm using on this card, but then there are some that are, well, actually it's not an exact square. It still looks a little bit more like I think technically it's still rectangular because one side does seem a little bit longer than the other, but it seems a little bit more square-ish in aspect ratio. So you get a nice variety of both size and shape as well as color. So that's really great. And then also sold separately, you can get the die cut ephemera pack. So those are pre-printed, pre-cut die cuts that you can collage up or use individually, because some of them, like the one I'm using on this card, some of them are really large and I feel can really stand on their own as a single item to be your focal image. So I think there's a really good variety there of, individual items that you can collage up, or these larger items that are already kind of combine multiple images and can stand on their own as the focal image. So I really like it for that. Now, moving on to sketch number 5 here, I am bringing in some extra pattern paper. So from Kendra's card challenge, the way that it has been designed is that you can choose 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper and cut them down. There's a cutting guide that shows you exactly how to cut everything. And then you can assemble your cards according to the 15 card sketches that are provided. And it's completely free to play along. You can download the PDF for free and play along with the challenge to win some prizes, but really, I just feel like it's a great resource to have, just to have these different card sketches, and it's really useful. And I find for any sketch challenge that I play along with, I find that it just really helps me to add to my kind of my toolbox of crafty tools, and eventually some of the card layouts that I learn from these sketch challenges, some of them stick with me over time, and I don't even have to look at a challenge or a sketch anymore. It's just something that I feel like I've just kind of learned how to compose some layouts a little bit better after having played along with so many of these sketch challenges. So I think that's really wonderful. And this particular pattern paper is pretty cool because it actually, it has some print on it as part of the background, and it actually says Washington State, which I think it's the Sears Roebuck in Seattle, Washington, which is amazing because that's where I'm at. So I thought that was really cool. And so the sketch challenges are always really, really fun to play along with. But you'll notice in the sketches that there are a lot of areas that are white, black, or gray. And those are areas where you can really just use anything that you want. And that can include additional pattern papers from the original, in addition to the original 6 that you choose. And so often, especially with the Spellbinders papers and their card kits also, I really like adding more pattern paper because we get so much variety in each of the paper pads. And also, because it is a lighter weight paper, I don't mind layering 2, 3, 4 different pattern papers up. Like this one, I'll end up with 3 layers in total. And it doesn't, because the papers are a little bit on the thinner side, they aren't a cardstock weight, you can add that many layers and it doesn't make your card front too heavy. So I love it for that reason. And of course, because it's all part of the same collection, everything is going to coordinate really beautifully together. And so I find using these sort of kit-like components a really fun way to play along with challenges. So I also included in the collection, I already mentioned the chipboard frames. We have the die cuts that I'm using here. But then you also get a set of sentiments, and that's where this sentiment is from as well. So it is foiled and really lovely. It's small, it's printed on there rather small, but around some of the letters there are some florals, and those florals match like pretty much 100% some of the other floral designs that you see both on the pattern papers as well on some of the die cut ephemera pieces that I've collaged up. And so that's why everything is just so well curated, so well coordinated, and works beautifully together. And the sentiment pack is really, really nice. What I really love about it is that, and I've only crafted with one of the card making kit clubs, but the Quick and Easy card making kit club. But I wish that it did have something similar to the sentiment die cut pack that you can get as part of this collection, because I feel like these sentiment packs are really good. You get a nice variety of sentiments, not just the actual phrases, but in terms of the formatting and size and scale of the sentiments, the different styles of font, foiled versus not foiled, all of that good stuff. There's a really good variety, and you get everything from the larger sentiments as well as the smaller little banner sentiments too. So I really love that. I love that variety, and you even get some that are shaped, like this one that I'm going to use on this card is actually a little bit of a faux wax seal kind of look. So it's really nice, the variety. I like it a lot, and that was one of the things that I found when I was crafting with the April Quick and Easy card kit of the month that I felt like I was lacking. It did have sentiments in the kit, but I felt like a lot of them were very similar or in style, format, design. And so I was just missing the variety. And I think the sentiment pack that comes as part of this collection really is spot on. Now, with this particular sketch, it really shines with double-sided paper, but here I'm showing that you don't necessarily need double-sided paper if you want to just cut your own little accent, because the sketch itself shows you how to cut and fold this sort of kind of like a collar, like a shirt collar. And if you had double-sided pattern paper, then it would reveal the backside of the paper. But the papers that do come in this collection are single-sided. So all I did was I just cut a rectangle out of black paper that is the same height as the pattern paper that I have here. And for the width of it, I just cut it to the same width that the instructions on the sketch tell you to make that slit or make that cut inwards from the side, so that I can actually cut those triangles out and then just layer them right on top of where the back of the pattern paper would normally be showing. So for example, this tells you to cut 1.5 inches into or towards the center of your pattern paper. So I just cut a piece of pattern paper that was 1.5, or I just cut a piece of black paper that was 1.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall, because that my original pattern paper is 5 inches tall. And then I just cut that diagonal line so that I get that kind of shirt collar triangles. And so where the back of the paper would normally show white, I just replaced that with my black pattern paper because I thought it was a really nice contrast with this particular pattern paper, which has some typography, it has some print on it in black. And so I thought having a little bit more black on the card would help to just kind of show that off a little bit. And plus, I like the combination of like that bright green against the black. I feel like it just makes everything pop when you combine bright colors with black. I think the black really helps to make it pop even more. This is sketch number 8, and my idea with this is I really love this green pattern paper, and again, I'm bringing in some more pattern paper from the paper pad, and this is a really nice kind of a geometric pattern that's gold foiled onto white, and it just adds, I really like that geometric pattern because we've got the diamond triangle shapes here. So I think that kind of like kind of picks up on that whole the kind of pointy sort of triangular edges, because the foiled pattern, it's not quite a diamond, but it does have a little bit of that pointiness to it. And so I don't know what that design is called. It probably has a name, that pattern, gold foiled pattern, but I thought that just that geometric feel of it really works with this particular sketch. And so I've got my pattern here, and I like the striking kind of the dark black and that sort of dark green on top of, it's like almost like a very dark jade green on top of that white foiled pattern paper. And here I'm using, again, some more of the sentiments from the sentiment pack. And these are the small, and you get loads of them, these small kind of phrases that you can combine together. And you get these in different colors as well. And they're just really nice and small and nice to mix and match with some of your larger phrases or sentiments as well. But the ampersand also comes in that sentiment pack, which I think is really, really fantastic. Across both the die cut ephemera pack and the die cut sentiment pack, you do get 2 of each design. So that's really great for if you do like to make cards to sell, for example, and you like to have multiple of the same design. It's really helpful for that. And also, if there are some sentiments that you just really love, it is always nice to have a couple extra or 1 extra of it, because you do get 2 of each. So I thought that I always love that we get a really, really good variety, but then on top of that, you get good quantity of each as well. You get you don't have just the one. And so the collection also includes, because I'm not done yet, and you'll see them featured in some future cards coming up here. The next couple sets will have them. But there are some butterfly, I think it's printed acetate, and they are really gorgeous. They are stickers. They do have adhesive on the back already, and they're just gorgeous. You'll see them on not this is sketch number 8. I don't think I used it on sketch number 9. Maybe I do. I will see in a moment. It's been a while since I actually made these cards, and I'm only now just filming the voiceover. But the butterflies are gorgeous, and there are several. You get a lot in the pack. Then as well, there are some glitter gemstones, which are really, really pretty. I felt like they are very jewel tone, almost mermaid colors, which I feel like some of them work really well with the color palette of this collection, but then some of them I felt like might be a little too bright, where I feel like some of these colors they are colorful and saturated, but they also feel a little bit subdued a little bit. And the glitter gemstones I felt are very, very bright. And so I used a couple of them on some cards, but then I stopped using them, and just, you see me keep on, pulling in my Nuvo drops. And I like to kind of pre-make a bunch of Nuvo drops, when I start a project or a set of cards like I am, with this set. And I make them onto the paper liner of things like when you're done, if you use, for example, address labels and you've used up the whole sheet, you can just peel off the rest of the paper and use those sheets as liner sheets. They're really great for, you can do inky backgrounds on them just to protect your work surface, or you can make Nuvo drops on them, and they release really easily. But at least this way you can pre-make a lot of drops, and then if any of the drops don't turn out the way that you want, for example, you don't have to use it because it's not straight onto your project. So I love to just make them. And also, I am very indecisive when it comes to placing my drops. And so, if I pre-make them, I feel like I can sort of audition the placement a little bit and get a few, try out a couple of different locations, some different configurations, and then before I settle on what I really want as the final location. So that's the other reason why I really like to pre-make my Nuvo drops, because it makes doing that possible. So here's that acetate butterfly. It's layered. There's 2 layers stacked, so you get some dimensionality there. And you get them in different colors too. And they do, because it is printed, color printed onto acetate, it's kind of durable. Those wings will pop up that second layer. So I only glue down the first layer, and then I let the layer on top of it just hang out, and that way it can have all that nice dimension. And because it's plastic, it does pop back up really, really well. And because it's kind of a plastic, it's also clear a little bit, and so it's just really lovely. It's got a very, very nice kind of ephemeral feel to it. And I think I want to say you get 12, but in prepping for this set of cards, I started cutting up the sheet, so I don't remember exactly how many you get, but it's a pretty generous supply, I feel. So those are all of the individual things that you can get from the collection. Of course, it's really nice to have everything to craft with, because then you can really just mix and match. And these butterflies, I feel like, are a really good size too. They are nice for using it as your kind of focal image. And I'm gonna use them again on this set. So this is a set of 3 sketches where there are 3 pattern papers that are cut the same. At least this panel here has the same diagonal cuts across all 3, and then you mix and match the 3 pattern papers. So sometimes I've noticed this in Kendra's card challenge. There will sometimes be a set of 2 or 3 cards that are like this, where it's 3 different papers essentially cut down the same way, and then reconfigured, mixed and matched among them. And so when I see that, I like to kind of work on all of them at the same time. So what I like to do is I like to tape the pieces back together so that you have that original panel, and that way I can kind of use that panel as if it was a single sheet. And so I already did that with sketches 10 and 11, and there are plenty of the chipboard frames and butterflies where I could have made all 3 of these the same design, I guess, as sketch number 10 and 11, what you see on the left. But I wanted to kind of show different ways to kind of play with this sketch, because it's always fun to just kind of, put your own little twist on a sketch. And that's part of the fun of it, is you have the framework of the base of the card design, but then all of the finishing touches, and there's so much freedom and flexibility to just add your own personal touch, your own interpretation of the sketch. And so I definitely wanted to play with the idea a little bit and try some different things, different layouts out. And so that was the first card that I just finished. That was sketch number 12. And the sketch, you'll notice that the sketch does show you some different options for where you can place your focal image and sentiment. So, for example, that black dark circle would be a focal image. So the sketches are great because they're already kind of suggesting a couple of different ways that you can work with the sketch, but you'll see that I'm not actually following that at all. So feel free, even if you're playing along with the sketch challenge and entering it to win prizes, you can still feel free to change things up to match your aesthetic, to match your the elements that you want to use, because maybe sometimes some images just work better being placed in a different location than what is suggested in the sketch. And I thought that was the case with these. So with the chipboard frames, I just backed them with some more pattern paper. And then I put the butterfly right in the middle of the frame, and I added one of the sentiment strips to the bottom of the frame. And the sentiment strips, they are, as well as the die-cut ephemera pieces, they are a paperweight, so they aren't super thick ephemera. So that's another thing that's kind of nice, because if you're using a lot of layers, it doesn't get overly thick. Now, the frames, they are chipboard frames, so those do have some dimension to them, and that's why it is sometimes kind of nice to work with kind of thinner die cuts, thinner papers, because when you start layering a lot onto the front of your card, sometimes it makes it a little bit heavy on the front compared to the inside or the back of the card. So I find that it is kind of nice to work with these elements that are a little bit on the thinner side. But if you do want them to feel a little bit more substantial, you can always back the die cuts, glue them onto just maybe some 80-pound white cardstock, and then just fussy cut around it so that you get something a little bit thicker and a little bit more substantial. Okay, so with this one, I had an idea in mind, and then I didn't dry fit everything to visualize it beforehand, and then it didn't come to fruition the way that I expected. So I'll tell you what I was going for and why I am gluing these different triangle shapes in such a weird way. So I'm applying double-sided adhesive tape to the card front. That's directly to my card front. And I've basically put a strip all the way around all four borders and one strip down the middle. These triangle pieces are going to get attached to the corner, and what I did was put another strip of double-sided adhesive on the long edge of the triangle. And why I'm doing this, and you can see I left a little bit of a border where my card base is showing. That's actually sticky because when I put my strips of double-sided adhesive tape onto my card base, I pushed it all the way to the edge. And so I'm leaving sticky adhesive visible along the border there. That's intentional. But when I go to place these triangles, I did not do the placement right. I actually gave it too much of a border was showing, and I didn't realize that my original thought and intention was to push these triangles a little bit more into the corner so that less of the card base was showing. And the reason is that I wanted to add a little bit of a border all the way around all of these pieces. But look what happens when I put these triangle pieces in. There's no border along those diagonal edges. The whole reason to do it the way that I was doing it was so that I could have a sticky double-sided adhesive that I could now add these gold gilding flakes and get a gold border, not just around the card base, because if I just wanted it around the card base, all I needed to do was add double-sided adhesive to the four edges. I went to all the trouble of applying the adhesive on the long edge of the triangle in that way, because I intended for there to be gold around that too. So I wanted there to be gold around all the borders of the triangle pieces, of all of the triangle pieces. But I put that first one down wrong, and then everything had to line up with it. And so that is the one thing with thinner papers, because if you're using a good quality glue and you stick it down, it's really hard to pull that back up, because if you're using cardstock or a thicker pattern paper, you can afford to lose a little bit of paper on the back of that if you had to pull it up off of your card base. But with thinner papers, it's darn near impossible. But I love this the gilded foil look. And those gilding flakes, all you need to do is just kind of burnish them into the adhesive, and they polish up beautifully. It's really lovely effect, and really fun to do. I pulled out my Love from Lizzie pinstripe stickers, thinking that maybe I would still add the pinstripe stickers where I originally wanted the gold frame around all of the triangle edges, but the golds just don't match up. The gilding flakes just look really nice, and you can't get that same look from anything else, I feel. So I didn't do the Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers. So I think maybe it might be better that I didn't have the gold running through, but I still want to try it again. I'm gonna try the sketch again and try it the way that I was intending for it to look, with more gold showing between each of the triangle pieces, and just to see, just for my own satisfaction of seeing it. And here again, I used another one of the chipboard frames, and I backed it with some pattern paper, a different pattern paper, but has the same kind of greens and the same sort of reddish purples. And I made that be kind of the bit of art that's being framed, and instead of putting the butterfly in the center like I did on the previous two cards, I just put it off to the side as a little bit of an accent. Now, this is sketch number 14, and this one I change up a little bit too. I have some of this beautiful pattern paper, and I did die cut into this, so you can actually see at the bottom there is a little bit of, you can see that kind of curve where a circle has been die cut out of it. And I work around that because I actually wanted to use that panel as the full background behind this panel that I have here. But because of that little bit that's been die cut through, I don't actually have a large enough piece. But what I'm gonna do is actually, because a lot of the background paper is going to get covered by that other panel that I already assembled, I don't actually need a full sheet back there because a lot of it's going to get covered anyway. So here's a little bit of a cheat where you can kind of extend your pattern paper. So I just cut off a little bit, put it at the bottom, and then I am going to put my panel with the three strips right in the center. So you can see there's a gap there, but that's totally fine because this panel will cover that gap. And it'll seem like, that's all one pattern paper back there, but it's really not. So you can always make your, if you don't have enough or, a large enough section, this is one way to kind of get it to fill a space, even if it's not technically, large enough, by just kind of covering the gap with something else. And it's a way to also stretch your paper some too. If you just want to save some of that gorgeous paper, you don't need to actually have it behind something where it's going to get completely covered. So why not just, cut it up into sections, and then you can actually stretch your supplies a little bit more. And you can kind of see I'm changing up the sketch a little bit where I've attached the 3 pattern papers from the original 6 that I chose. I just attached them to a bit of black cardstock and made this sort of panel. And it's a little bit different as to how it's represented on the sketch. But like I said, sketches are just a starting point for your creativity. So you just use them to jumpstart your creative process, but then add your own kind of flair to it. And I do like the shapes, like the hearts. It's just suggestive. It's not saying you have to use a heart shape, but there's these little gold foiled heart die cuts that come as part of the ephemera pack, and so I thought it was fun to just add these little hearts to to my card, just as a nod to the hearts that are represented on the sketch. And then the final card number 15, or sketch number 15, and here I'm using some just solid color cardstock as my background. And there are some new solid color cardstocks that Spellbinders just released. This one's perfect. It goes really, really well with this pattern paper. It's kind of it's almost like a blue gray, but a very light blue gray. It's really lovely. I really like the color palette, the tone of some of the new colors that have come out. They match this paper collection really, really well in that they are a little bit more muted in a sense, and so I really like that because a lot of the other colors in the solid color cardstock that Spellbinders already has, they're very, very bright and just very bright color wise, and so it's kind of nice to get something a little bit more subdued, a little bit more toned down. And I have been using the new Tim Holtz Rotary media trimmer. This was actually the first project that I started with that trimmer, or started cutting with that trimmer, and it's kind of, I'm reserving judgment on it until I've had a chance to use it some more. I thought that I might actually give my thoughts on it in this video, but I think I want to use it a little bit more. Try it on I've already tried it on chipboard for a different project. This project was really nice, or this set of cards was really nice because of the different weight of the pattern paper being like a thinner weight, and then the solid color cardstock from Spellbinders being nice and heavyweight. It's 100-pound, so that's really good. And my card bases are 100-pound as well. And so it was kind of nice to try it on some different weight papers, but I want to play with it a little bit more before I offer an opinion. So I might actually do a separate video just as a review and give my thoughts on it there. So here is a look at all 15 sketches. So these are the first 3 cards that I put together in my first video. If you didn't see that first video, I'll link to it at the end of this one, so you can go back and check that out. And that's where I actually pick out and talk about how I pick out and choose my 6 pattern papers. And then I also show how to cut everything down. Look at that butterfly. How cool is that? Really, really love those. And great that you can buy all of these elements kind of individually. And the bird that was on card number 2, that is part of the die cut ephemera pack. So just about everything I used on all 15 cards do come from the collection. I think the only thing that I brought to the table in addition to the various things that come in the collection are, well, the gold mirror card and the solid color cardstock, basically, and of course the card bases. But pretty much everything else that you see, the predominant elements on the card are from this collection. So again, in the collection, you can get the 6x6 paper pad, 40 sheets, 10 designs for of each design. And there's the die cut ephemera pack, loads in there, and you get 2 of each ephemera piece. Then there's the die cut sentiment pack, which has a fantastic variety of different shaped banners, different size sentiments, different phrases, individual words. It's really, really lovely, the sentiment pack. Lots of variety there. Then there's also these butterflies, the butterfly stickers that are printed onto acetate, have that double layer so that the wings pop up. And those are really, really lovely. I did not overly feature it, but there is also the glitter drops or gemstones that you can get, and they are gorgeous. I just feel like color-wise, they were just a little too bright for these cards, and so I made my own using some of my Nouveau glitter drops, and some of them are, I think I used some vintage drops, just whatever colors that I happen to have. And then as well, part of the collection are these chipboard frames, which I love using. They're really fabulous for kind of framing and being sort of the grounding for the focal image. And most of the time I did use the frames to do that. The thing in terms of dies, I did use, what's really cool, there's a set of sentiments that come in the sentiment pack that actually have the exact same shape as one of the I think it's the label nested shape dies. That it's so cool. I've used it a lot. It's become one of my favorite nested shape dies. But it's really cool that the sentiment pack actually has sentiments in that shape, and it's pre-cut and everything, and you can kind of pop them out and actually have frames in that too. But if you have the die set like I did, you can use it. And I think that was on card number 1 that I used it. But otherwise, I didn't really use much else from my stash. So you can see that with the elements that you can get from this collection, you can really do quite a bit. Like this panel here, the You Fill My Heart, that's one of the sentiment packs. So you can see that one is actually even built in with the florals and everything combined. So that is all 15 cards from Kendra's Card Challenge number 10. I'll leave links to the challenge and all of the products that I used in the description box below if you're curious to check any of that out. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.